my 6. Let's go do this. What's up, friends, family, frenemies, lovers and haters all? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire internet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. Yeah, right here, Hot G, the spot to be. All right, we're back. We are back from spending the winter in the Philippine Islands. Yeah, I'm going to explain what this is. This is something incredible. I'm no longer venturing into these potentially haunted, the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forests. I'm prepared. It's been a while, but we're going to do this thing, and we're getting back into it hot and heavy this spring, and we're going to do it right, preparedly. Let me tell you what this is. This was my Christmas gift from my Filipino grandfather. All right, Dearly's grandfather, who I also call my grandfather because our family's so close we don't use the terms in-law. So my brothers-in-law are not my brothers-in-law, they're my brothers. Same thing with my sisters-in-law. Okay, that's rain. But you watch, because this thing can find them, it can point them out. So we had a great time, 4.5 months in the tropics. I'm going to go through here slowly because you have got to get my 6. I've missed these woods. These woods have missed me. And potentially what may or may not be in them might have missed me. Maybe not. Maybe I missed them. I don't know. Depends on if they're the good ones or the bad ones. But 4.5 months in the tropics. It was wonderful. We got home just last night as of this recording. 27 hours of travel. But it was good. All the flights were on time. No delays. That was the case for the whole trip. Let me tell you about this thing first, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the trip. So this is a sword. Originally, it was a bayonet that went on the end of our grandfather's great-grandfather's rifle. Now, he was a Spanish conquistador. I probably mispronounced that. But he was pure Spaniard. He was a soldier in the Spanish army. This dates back to the 1880s, and it's made out of bronze. And Daniel, my son, Dearly and my son, is going to be, he's the 10th generation to possess this bayonet turned sword. And it's a special bayonet turned sword, and that's why I have it out here with me in the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forest. I'm going to tell you about how special it is. I mean, just the family heritage and the history of it. When Lolo, that's what we call grandfather in the Philippines, Lola is grandmother. When Lolo tried to give it to me at Christmas, I refused to take it because I'm not part of the bloodline, the family bloodline, and he kept saying, oh, take it. And it took him almost 3 months to convince me to take it. And there's several reasons for that, why I finally decided to take it. Now, number one, it's with the understanding that really it was going to Daniel, not so much myself. Number two, my grandfather's biggest concern was that if it did go to somebody in the family in the Philippines, if they got into a situation where they needed money, which happens commonly because they're not very well off people. This is, did you see that? Stand right here for a minute. I saw that movement. I saw it go behind the tree. If you did, mark it, timestamp it. You know, hey, I'm rusty. I haven't done this for a while, but I know the drill. I don't turn my head and look back. Okay, watch through the camera. You pointed out for me. So, but his concern was if somebody in the family needed money, they might sell it or pawn it, and then it wouldn't come back into the family. I totally understand that. And then thirdly, we had a very long conversation about family, and the fact is, you don't choose the family you're born into, but once you're here on earth, you do have the luxury of choosing the family within you want to live and exist. And technically, he is Dearly's father's stepfather, Dearly's father's father having died when the children were all young. So he's not part of the bloodline either. So yeah, I'm going to move on because I think it might have moved, but you keep watching. So we've got a conglomerated family with not necessarily direct bloodlines connecting everyone, but unconditional love connecting all. So when he put it to me that way, because that's the way I believe, that's my philosophy, I realized, you know what, I'm as much this man's grandson as anybody else. So his last name is Martinez, which is Spanish, and then Dearly's maiden name was Cortez, because her biological father was also what they call mestizo, a mix of Filipino and Spanish bloodline. So Lolo's great-grandfather was pure Spanish. He was the one in the family who first married a Filipino woman and thus started the mestizo bloodline in our family. So that's where the Martinez name comes from, and that's how this came to be in the family. There's not a lot of stuff like this dating back. There is, but it's limited. Okay, not that there's a lot, but there is some, but it's limited, and this is one of those pieces. So he gave it to me for Christmas. I finally accepted, brought it back to the U.S. We're going to put it in like a glass frame box and put it in the living room. It's going to be one heck of a conversation piece, but I'm also going to be using it on my potential Bigfoot Sasquatch and all things paranormal and supernatural adventures, because there is a long history linked to this piece with that. And those are stories for another time, because I don't want to come out here and talk for an hour and a half. The main point of this video is just to let you know we're home and to give you a peek around the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch for us, because it's been a while, show you this and talk about a couple of things. So the trip was marvelous. No complaints. There were some times when we were in some not so desirable areas where we witnessed some not so desirable behavior. Had to put up with some, but the good outweighs the bad. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, because this is life. And I think this trip proved to me that I have matured on an emotionally intelligent level, as I'd hoped to since I was in the Philippines last. It had been 7 years. So the last time I was there, I'd been stuck. I'd been there for like 6 years. I was on an expired visa because we were down and out for the longest time. No money, no hope of getting home. But then turned things around with successful writing, social media, which we've been doing since, been doing this for 12 years. All the things that I was doing, hoping to be able to leave the Philippines, come back to the U.S., bring my family. And we overshot the goal. I mean, I was just hoping to get here. I was willing to rent an apartment for the rest of my life, but we ended up being able to buy this 6-acre property and have a fantastically amazing life, now spending the winters in the tropics in the Philippines, the better part of the year over here. It's just, we overshot the mark, and we're so grateful for that. And part of that success, I really believe, comes not just from hard work and success through the hard work, but through emotional intelligence, learning to stay away from toxic people, identifying them quickly when they attempt to enter your life, cutting contact with toxic people who maybe have been in your life for many, many years, and then focusing on the good. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories here about how I personally feel I've come a long way with that. Despite some of the ugliness we saw, and I'm not going to talk about that at this point, I might at another point, in the future, I didn't focus on it. I learned to look for the good despite the bad. And this is wherever we go. Listen, I believe that wherever we go, people are the same. Whether we're in the U.S., whether we're in the U.K., whether we're in the Philippines, whether we're in Germany, South Africa, people are the same wherever you go. There's good and there's bad. There's in between. Instead of focusing on the bad, like I could tell you horror stories about getting ran over by a tricycle in Manila, like the video I just posted earlier today. And again, the main point of even recording that video wasn't to focus on that jerk that almost, well, ran me over twice till I had a conversation with him. But I was holding the camera out that day because I figured him and his buddies might be out there waiting on me with ice picks. But if you hold up a camera over there, you don't have a problem with the dirt bags because they don't want to end up on social media because Rodrigo Duterte will send his men out to dispatch them. What's this? I heard a howl. Rewind and listen. And I said, what's this? And I pointed the magical sword, the supernaturally charged sword. And you wait till you hear the story about this sword. You see, my great whatever grandfather was more than just a typical soldier. He was a special type of soldier. He wasn't a special forces soldier, but him and his crew dealt with special forces. Well, it's another story for another time. You're going to love it. I heard it again. All right, so anyway, and it doesn't matter that Duterte's not president anymore. Him and his men are still taking care of business over there. And his daughter and his sons are going to continue to do so. It's so much a better place than it was last time I was there. So much better. It's safer. All right, so I had an issue over there, a health issue. I had contracted a skin virus due to some very unsanitary conditions in a motel. There's this keep watching. I'm going to do some slow pans, okay? The place where my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, happened to grow up is very remote. It's in southern Mindanao, which is the third world of the third world. It's like fourth world. And when we would go and stay, that's where Lola and Lolo lives, and most of the family. I would stay in a motel at night. No, I'd hang out with the family all day, Dearly and Daniel. And I wanted to stay in their huts with them. They had dirt floor huts and stuff. I didn't mind. But Dearly was concerned with my comfort because we'd go there for like a week at a time. Then we'd go back to our house in the city. I'd work my butt off, work out, recharge the batteries, go back out in the provinces for another week or so. So there were only 2 motels in this place. And one, sometimes the water worked, sometimes it didn't. And it was across the street from a place that sold videoke machines. They're like these machines. They look like old arcade games, consoles from the 80s. And you can either sing karaoke or listen to videoke, just listen to music on them. And this business plays one of them as loud as it will go all day long. So starting at like 7 or 8 a.m. until about 8 or 9 p.m. So you're not going to get much sleep there once that starts. And if you ask them to turn it down, they'll laugh at you, and then they'll turn 3 of them on and turn them up full blast until you're gone. That's just how it is over there. It's part of the culture. Within the household, within the family community, they're the most wonderful people you'll ever meet, and they're more concerned about you than anybody. But there's no sense of civics. If a neighbor says, "Hey, the music's kind of loud," can you turn? Yeah, F you, buddy, and they'll turn it up even louder because you had the audacity to complain. So then the other motel, which was further away from that, so you couldn't hear the music, and the water did work. It was filthy, and it boils down to standards. The woman that owns it has very low standards in cleanliness, and there were cobwebs, spider webs all over the place. The bathrooms were filthy. One time we stayed there, and they had a refrigerator in the room that didn't even work, wasn't even plugged in, and I opened the door, and there was like a milkshake that must have been in there for a month. It was disgusting. So anyway, my last time of staying in one of those places, and my son Daniel, he would say, well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, we can ignore the cobwebs and the spider webs. And I said, Daniel, the problem is that, and he didn't stay there, him and Dearly didn't stay there, is that you see how filthy it is as far as what we can see. I said, the problem is what we can't see. I said, this is the kind of place where I would be surprised if they even change the bed sheets in between guests. They probably don't. Well, I think that might have rung true because I contracted a skin virus that made me break out in warts, or not warts, but like boils, these tiny little boils underneath my armpits, and it was painful. It burned. It was disgusting. So our last week there, I'm going to start going back this way. I distinctly saw out of the corner of my eyes 2, potentially 3 entities hide behind trees. So you keep watching, okay? Listen, some of these things are malevolent. Some, however, are benevolent. Just right off the top of my head right now, because I'm out of practice, I can't remember which one of those means good and harmless, and the other one means bad and harmful, but I got this for the one that's bad and harmful, brah. And it's got 150 years of experience. You wait till you hear the story about this sword. All right, so anyway, because we're focusing on the good, right? It's not that I'm focusing on how filthy that place was. I just had to give you the backstory so you'll understand it. So, our last week there, we're in Manila after having spent like a week at this beautiful island. My new most favorite place in the Philippines is called Palawan. It was the cleanest place I've ever seen in the Philippines. I made a video on here. It's 1 hour long about our week in paradise. Go watch it if you missed it. Just skim through it. It's a long video. I made it that long because I wanted to document our experience for the future so our family can always go back and watch the video. But the people there were wonderful. The Filipino people, they were respectful. They were courteous, professional, wonderful people. The kind of people you'd love to have as neighbors, you'd love to live beside. But by then I was starting to already break out in these things under my armpits from having been at the filthy place the week before that. So I ended up going to a doctor. I actually visited a doctor twice over there because I had a bacterial, because of the pollution. Our first month there, I got a boil on my back called a pig, so I had to go get antibiotics for that. Went to the dentist, got 2 fillings, went to the eye doctor, and got glasses. So actually I went to 4 medical professionals over there and spent a total of maybe $350 amongst all of them. And that includes prescription medications. Yeah, because they don't have the legalized fraud issue over there that we know is insurance, health insurance here. So you pay what the actual procedure or whatever costs, not what some health insurance scamming company will give the doctor for you going for that cause. So went to the doctor 4 times, 4 medical professionals, paid a maximum of $350. So I'm in Manila, and I go see this doctor about this skin infection. His name is Dr. Melvin. Wonderful man. He's just a few years older than me. We really hit it off. Turns out he's got 3 sisters that live in the U.S. They're all nurses. 2 are in L.A. 1 is in Houston, Texas. So Dearly went with me to this clinic, and once I got in to see the doctor, she said, "Give me money. I'm taking the kids shopping for clothes." I was like, okay. So I gave her all the money I had in my pocket. She was taking her younger siblings and nieces and nephews and Daniel to this really inexpensive place to buy clothes for them. So she left me alone with the doctor. So the doctor says, okay, you need this injection. This is a skin virus. So he gave me a skin test. Like a TB time test. He injected the little bubble thing under my skin, circled it. He says, come back in 30 minutes. If you don't have a reaction, we'll give you the injection. I'm going to give you a prescription cream to put on the things, and you're going to be fine. And all this, mind you, cost me like $70 total. Doctor's visit, skin test, the injection for the medicine, and then a prescription cream, like $70. 4,500 pesos. $100 is like 5,700 pesos. So I go out, I pull out cash while I'm out because I've given Dearly all my cash. Go back. I didn't have any sort of reaction to the test. So I got the injection. And so he says, okay, here's the prescription for the cream. He says, where's your wife? I said, oh, she took the kids shopping. He says, what? She's not here? She left you? I said, yeah, it's okay. Where's the pharmacy? I'll go. He goes, well, there's several on the street. He goes, come on, I'll go with you. And he had patients waiting on him, right? I said, oh, Doc, you don't have to go with me. I appreciate that, but I can go get it. I'm a big boy. And he says, no. He says, listen, and we had talked by this time extensively. He says, you've been here for 15 years off and on. You've lived here. He says, you know some embarrassing parts of my country's culture. He says, if your wife's not here to protect you from that, I'm going to do it. He says, I'm not going to let anybody at the pharmacy charge you more than what this cream costs. He says, come on. This doctor, a doctor, went with me down the street to the first pharmacy, gave him the prescription, told him what we needed. I'm going to get soaked. So, proof that this is bronze, it won't rust. I mean, I'll dry it off and take care of it, but it's not going to rust. Keep watching. They love this misty weather. We're where field meets forest. We're at elevation. There's rain, and it's almost dark. This is a perfect time to potentially see what may or may not be out here in this forest. So, first pharmacy didn't have it. Didn't have the cream. Second pharmacy didn't have it. Third pharmacy didn't have it. We had to go to 4 different pharmacies. This doctor accompanied me to 4 different pharmacies. The cream ended up costing 290 pesos. Commonly, what a lot of times will happen, if you're a white foreigner in the Philippines or any other non-white third world country, they'll tell you it's 500 pesos, which is nothing to us. It's like less than $10, but they'll do that and they'll pocket the difference of 210 pesos. The doctor went with me to make sure that didn't happen. So instead of focusing heavily on the dirt bags, like the tricycle driver that ran me over twice, some other dirt bags that wanted to publicly display their ignorance by harassing me and heckling me and having fun at my expense, I choose to focus on the doctor. That's the story I'll tell. That's the story I just told. Did you see that? Right in there. It's almost like I'm holding this very, very loosely. So I'm just kind of letting it go around like this and point where it wants. And it kind of pointed back in that direction just as I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. So keep watching there. You wait till you hear the story of this sword, the history behind it. So, and then secondly, we've been going for over 20 minutes now, and I'm not trying to keep you indefinitely. Came back to the house. We were gone 4.5 months. Everything is working great at the house. There's no problems. The electric works, the water works, and this house was built in 1903, so that's saying a lot. And I made videos. I mean, shoot, there's like 70,000 of you who found this channel because of the video I made about how to get rid of an annoying neighbor with a crayon. Well, I've advanced past that. Instead of focusing on a-hole neighbors, which I've only got a couple, the majority of them are wonderful. The majority of them are neutral. I have nothing to do with them. The ones I do know, I focus on the ones who are wonderful. One of our wonderful neighbors is who kind of kept an eye on the house and the property for us. At one point, I heard something that wasn't rain, so you keep getting my 6. I'll do some slow pans. At one point, a limb fell off of a poplar tree and hit a power line and disconnected the anchor off the house where the lines run into the house. This guy called the power company, had him out here the next day. He came down and supervised as they put that thing back on. He was starting my truck during the winter to let it run when it got cold. Yep, I see that. Keep watching. Well, the battery died over the winter. It's a 2017 model, the truck, and the original battery had never been replaced. Well, it died. Dude went out and bought a brand new battery and installed it for me. So when I got back, the truck would work. So today, the family and I were able to go to the grocery store and buy like $400 worth of food because we didn't have any food in the house. And this guy's wife went out and bought us groceries yesterday afternoon to get us through last night and this morning because they knew we didn't have any food in the house. These people did not have to do all these things. I just told them, I said, hey, when you pass a house, a couple times a week, we look over and make sure it's still there, make sure it hasn't burnt to the ground or whatever in our absence. Man, they didn't have to do any of this, but they did. So, listen, not everybody sucks. There are plenty of people in the world that sucks, but there's plenty of people in the world who don't suck, who are wonderful. Like that doctor, and I've got so many stories of wonderful Filipinos I met when I was in the Philippines. Like my good neighbor, that lives back here in the woods behind me. So instead of focusing on the D-bags, the pretentious snobs, the lunatic farmer that thought he was going to take the hay off my land for the next 1,000 years, let's focus on the good ones, the positives, because that's part of that emotional intelligence that allows us to grow and get to the next level. So one of the biggest differences I noticed during my time in the Philippines was that I see something strange. I think it's some kind of a bone. Folks, I'm telling you, spring is coming, and there are certain creatures in the woods that have particular mating habits and migratory habits. They're getting to it, but this is like a backbone of something. Maybe a deer spine. Something fed on a deer somewhere around here. And you got to be pretty big to eat a deer because deers are pretty big. I mean, I can eat deer meat, but I can't eat a whole deer at once, you know? So it's got to be something bigger than me if it ate that deer all at once. So anyway, yeah, look for the good. Do your best to ignore the bad. This is emotional intelligence. It'll help you get to the next level. So I hope you're ready to get back to it. I hope you're ready to start spending some time with me again in these potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forests. I've got some creepy paranormal stories for you from stuff that literally happened in my presence when we're in the Philippines. The story of this sword, the story of the people surrounding the sword, plus what we just may or may not find out here in the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forests now that I'm back. So you get ready for a lot more activity. Continue to support me over on Facebook at Sick Twisted Humor. That page is killing it. Like, killing it. And of course, Dearly runs our Homesteading Off the Grid page on Facebook. She's got Life with Dearly here on YouTube. She uploaded tons of videos from our Philippines adventures over the winter. So I hope you survive the winter. I hope you're looking forward to the spring, which is coming quickly. I'm seeing things budding all over the place here. See you for more next time from the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire internet that has absolutely nothing, nothing, brah, to do with homesteading. Homesteading Off the Grid.